deep conversations light the way to inner and outer transformation. I'm your host, Saima, and today's guest is no stranger to bold truths, powerful insights, and helping us all live more meaningful. Meet Marcy Axelrod, award winning author of How We Choose to Show Up, TEDx speaker, TV contributor, and consultant to Fortune 500 companies. Her groundbreaking work merges neuroscience, psychology, behavioral economics, and evolutionary biology, giving us a 3D model for how humans are designed to show up and thrive. Her book is endorsed by Mel Robbins, celebrated by Forbes, and transforming how people, teams, and leaders connect. So, today we are going to explore the truth about showing up and what's possible when we choose to engage with life fully and authentically. So, Mercy, welcome to the show.
Saima, thank you so much. And it's interesting in the intro, you just said engage life fully and authentically. Is that what you said?
Yes, that's what I said.
Yeah. So we will be getting into that. It's really interesting that you chose to put authenticity as a core of truly showing up. Anyway, I will let you start with, whatever questions you have in mind, and then we're going to go back to that.
Yeah, sure. So let's start with like Marcy. Showing up is something we hear a lot about these days, right? But you have devoted years of research to it. So how do you define what it truly means?
Yes, thank you so much. This that gets thrown around, and there's a lot of assumptions. I mean, people assume it means being present. It means listening well. It means doing your best. All sorts of things. And then there's that awful phrase of, just showing up is half the battle or something, which is basically what that says is, just walk into the room, right? Just be there. So this is not really how nature designed human beings to show up. So everything shows up. The tree outside the window, the sunlight that either hits your face and gives you a sense of calmness or that you look away from, the toxicity of the chemicals in our skin creams. I mean, everything shows up: a company, a brand, a human being, a moment. So, what truly is it? Well, first, I'm going to explain that there are three levels, and people inherently know this, right? There's some version of low. I call it barely there. Then there's some version of medium, right? I call it just showing up, level two. And then there's some version of like doing it really well, right? Level three, truly showing up. To three levels. And the moment you see my chart with the three levels, you will never forget it because it goes from red and barely there into orange, then yellow of just showing up, and then green is truly showing up. Now, what's behind the levels? What do they really mean, right? So this is where the truth of how nature designed humans and really everything to thrive. So we're not just in one role. We think we're a self, right? We have this identity, but we're so much more. And I'll define what a self is because there's a small s version of self, like it's your ego. It's how you look. It's the things inside your head, it's the struggles you have and the joys, but it's a small thing. And when you look in the mirror, it's reflecting yourself back. That's a small version of self. But then there's the fact that society designs us. Society tells us, oh, it's good to listen to a podcast now, or to have a podcast, or to do this certain type of work, or to get certain grades in school, or to look a certain way, to buy certain brands. There's a much larger version of self that extends beyond us. And what I'm doing with my hands is turning them from facing me, like a mirror facing inward, to facing outward. And that large S version of self, where one self becomes actually two words, there's one, and then there's self with a big S. That's the self that's interconnected with everything else. That's the self that's part of truly showing up. Now, there are two more roles, and I've whole chapters on this in the book, How We Choose to Show Up. The thing is, we're not just a self. If you're just a self, you're more barely there or just showing up in levels 1 and 2. To get to level 3, you have to recognize you're a situation member at every moment. Even if you're laying in bed by yourself or reading a book, you are part of something that's going on right here, right now. And when you're with someone and look into their eyes, they are becoming part of you and you part of them. It's actually called interpersonal neural synchronization. Your brain waves start to synchronize. You feel what they feel. And here's the crazy thing. You don't even have to see them. Dacher Keltner at the Greater Good Science Center did research where with a velvet curtain between people who were strangers, you can touch someone's forearm for a second and know what they're feeling. And I'm not talking about basic things. They're happy, they're sad, they're mad, they're tired. I'm talking about nuanced emotions. They're feeling nostalgia. They're feeling tranquility. The likelihood of guessing right in that study was about 8%. So you're part of a situation and you're interconnected with it, and it creates you and you create it. Because just think about it. How you think, feel, and act is determined by what just happened, you know? And it doesn't have to be just with someone. It can be when you're moving through your own home, picking up a dish from the dishwasher. You're putting it down, and then there are still more. So you turn, you bend, you lift it, you put it away. That act was created by what came before. So our situation member role literally creates how we think, what we feel, what we do. But we aren't just in two roles, right? That'll move you into just showing up, and it makes you deeply present. So now you're moving into the green a little bit, but living in your third role as well, which is the recognition that we're part of something that's so much more than us. We're part of a family. We're part of a company. We're part of a team. We're part of a friend group. We're part of a religion, an ethnicity, a country, um, a political persuasion. We're people who love nature and spend time helping the world do things to preserve it, right? So when you live in all three of those roles, recognizing the massive impact that we have at every moment, which, by the way, goes 3 layers deep. I always talk about the work of Nicholas Christakis. Both of my TED Talks mention this. He's the one who measured the 20 people you're with the most are 45% more likely to do what you do. But it doesn't stop there. They then have a colleague they interact with, someone you will never meet, who is now 25% more likely to do what you do. And then that person goes home to their teenage daughter who's in the hallways of high school, who actually is 10% more likely to do what you do. So your third role recognizes I am impacting the world at every moment, which means you're not just responsible for it, but this calls us into the role almost as custodians of each other and of everything around us. So there are 3 roles. When we live in them fully, we're truly showing up. I'm going to pause there. There's actually a skill for each role, but I'm gonna stop because I'm sure that you have questions. So that's what truly showing up is. It's recognizing the continuum, barely there, just showing up, and truly showing up, levels 1, 2, 3, and then living more fully in in our situational moment, our contact point with real life, and recognizing we're impacting the world at every moment.
Mm-hmm. I love how you frame it, like not just doing more, but as being more present with that what it is, right?
Mm-hmm. Presencing is huge, and presencing occurs when you recognize how your situational role, like everything around you, literally creates how you feel, what you do, what you think, and who you are. It's massive. And most people don't recognize this. People try to be mindful and planful and ready. Those are really good things. But there's a belief that underlies that. When you just take a behavioral approach, it doesn't work because there's a whole belief system underneath all of our actions and how we feel and how we see the world, right? If you show up to a gorgeous forest with a chainsaw, it's lumber and you want to, put money in your pocket. If you show up to a forest with a belief system of I am here to forest bathe and to nourish myself and others and to honor, the markings in the trail and maybe to leave it better than I found it, or to send out a message to a community group to meet there, tomorrow at 10 a.m. to lead people through, then the forest is a very different thing. So being present is one piece of it, but there's so much. It's how do you attend to it? Society makes it extremely hard to truly show up level 3 because it's constantly pushing us to just show up. I'll give
Mhm.
some examples. That our technology was designed without kind of values and ethics built in and without a recognition of the second and third order effects. So it pulls on our attention. So now we attend and then we leave. We attend and we leave. So we're constantly interrupted. We're kind of living interruption life. It's far more effortful now and uncomfortable than it ever used to be to stay with something deeply, to keep attending second after second to the same thing. It's uncomfortable to look in people's eyes these days, especially for the generation that's in their 20s and younger. So we are constantly pulled out of a depth that is needed for us to truly be with each other and for. So there's a show up lexicon. Right now, we very much bounce off each other and bounce off the topics and things that we need to interact with because we're with them, we're not, we're with them, we're not, right? There's this on and off thing. In the very beginning of my chapter on what it means to just show up, I very much talk about this in this kind of witty, funny way. But the truth is, it leaves us feeling separate from. And that is the beginning of the illness that we feel and the degradation of the ocean and the fact that we've already passed 6 of the 9 planetary boundaries that we need to sustain ourselves. Things like clean water, clean air, species extinction, the health of the oceans. So when you can't be truly with something, you don't feel with the human, with the person, with the leaf, with the nature, with the water droplet. With the color, with the texture, right? With the comfort or with the pain, right? I have both right now. Right, with the fear and concern and with the appreciation. So society, as you said, right, pulls us out of just showing up. And when we start to recognize, to reappreciate the truth of how nature is designed, because humans are nature, we are then fed in our ability to stay with, to remain right here, right now. And what happens in showing up, and I scientifically, talk about how this happens. So I'm showing the continuum again, what actually happens as you move from the red into the orange, yellow, and then green of truly showing up. You go from not noticing things because you're attending with your left hemisphere, which is more of a power over control focused mechanism. You move from that into noticing, a crucial next step. And then once you notice, you can tune in. It's that next level of depth. Now you're interested, you're curious, your creativity shows up, your questions show up. Tell me more about that. How was it for you when? What do you think will happen if? What other ways can we be thinking about this, right? Notice, tune in, and then as we get into the green, we feel with. And then the absolute holy grail is enacting care. And by the way, that is the top of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It actually didn't stop where we were taught and where the old psychology books show with the self actualization. It doesn't. When you really read what Maslow said, he added his recognition later in life that the highest level is actually caring for others. It's enacting care. It's the word is contribution. So that's what happens as you move up the continuum, and it's much more of a right hemispheric interconnected thing. And that's when the loneliness disappears, the anxiety that comes from the separateness that David Bohm and Krishnamurti and so many people explain, and Einstein explain, doesn't actually exist, right? Society is teaching it exists, but it doesn't exist.
Oh, that's an incredible insight, Marcy. Thank you for reminding us that how we show up shapes everything from our relationships to our work to the meaning we create in life. And for all our listeners out there, maybe today's invitation is to pause, breathe, and ask yourself what's one way I can show up more fully today. Until next time on Soul Sparks, keep shining, keep showing up, and keep sparkling.